webinar later. All right, so welcome to the Dog Tag Fellowship Summer 2021 informational webinar. We are excited to have you join us today. We'll go ahead and start off by introducing our staff members that are present. So my name is Ashley Hearn, and I am one of the program managers at Dog Tag. And I manage all of the day-to-day functioning of the fellowship program, working with our fellows as their main point of contact as they go throughout the program, but then also working with a lot of our partners and facilitating communication and relationships with them. We also have Justin Miller, who's joining us. Justin, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin, as it says there, program manager. Happy to be here. I'm a couple weeks new to the team, so this is new for me as it is for you probably. Thanks.
Right. And then we also have Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the alumni coordinator. I started out with Dog Tag over 2 years ago in the catering department and recently moved over to the programs team.
Right, awesome. And just so you know, Sarah and Justin, forgot to mention this, I am making you both co-hosts. So if you see people coming in as we go, if you could just let them in, that would be great. Well, with that, we will go ahead and talk a little bit about Dog Tag. So we run a living business school for veterans with service-connected disabilities, military spouses, and caregivers. And the goal of our program is to support individuals who are going through transitions and helping them rediscover their purpose, find community. And we do this through a business and entrepreneurship focused fellowship program. We run this out of our bakery, which we're able to use as that living business school. And in addition to the academic aspects of the program, providing opportunities for that hands-on experience and really getting some good experience with what goes into running a small business through the work that we do at the bakery. Just a little bit of an overview of the agenda. So we'll talk about just an overview of the program, what the different components of it are and what to expect. Also eligibility requirements, the application process, and then at the end, we will have time for any of your questions. And we are happy to answer all of those. So just as an overview, it is a 5-month fellowship program. I think this is summer 2021. It should be winter 2022. So this is for the program starting next January, but it will begin January 18th and run through May 27th with a spring break the week of March 21st. It is a full-time commitment. So our program meets Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on top of that, there could be homework, other assignments, working on your capstone, which is the business plan that you'll be working on throughout the program. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we also give everybody Fridays off for medical appointments, family obligations, other things that you may have going on. But we do consider it a full-time commitment. And so just be aware that you would not be able to work while you're in the program. There is no cost to participate, and our fellows receive a monthly stipend to offset the costs associated with the fellowship program. This, I think, right now is $1,500 a month. So it's not a huge amount, but it does help cover some of those living expenses while you're in the program since you aren't able to work. We accept up to 16 fellows per cohort. We typically average about 15 to 16, and we run 2 sessions per year. So the January to May, and then we also run one from July to November. There are 5 main components of the fellowship program. So we have the academic foundation, where we partner with Georgetown University for a certificate in business administration. We also have that hands-on experiential learning, which takes place with our bakery staff working on projects at the bakery. The learning labs, which is where we bring in external partners to talk about either their experience as an entrepreneur, different skills and resources that you'll want to be aware of as you're getting into business and entrepreneurship and things like that. We also have a focus on well-being and reflection. So looking at people as a holistic individual and having opportunities for journaling, thinking about what your goals are, what your vision for your life is, and also some time for some fun like physical activity, so doing some yoga and bringing in some partners as well to facilitate sessions like that. And then finally is the Capstone Project, and this is what you'll be working on throughout the full 5 months of the program, and it is the business plan for a business that you would like to create. Many of our fellows go on to create this business. For others, it's more a creative exercise as they're thinking through what comes next. So diving a little bit deeper into each of those 5 components. So the academic foundation, as I said, we partner with Georgetown University here in Washington, D.C., and our fellows graduate with a certificate in business administration from the Georgetown School of Continuing Studies. Our fellows take 6 classes focusing on those basic business skills. So looking at management, marketing, accounting, business communications, financial management, and entrepreneurship. We have a fantastic partnership with Georgetown, with the faculty there, and are able to provide a lot of support to our fellows as they're going through these academic courses, because we understand that a lot of people have been out of school for quite a while, and so it may be their first time kind of dipping their toe back in that pool. We also have, as I mentioned, the experiential learning, which is the opportunity for fellows to work with staff. And we split this into 2 case studies. So the first case study, so half the people work on one and then switch to the other and do the reverse. But one of the case studies focuses on kind of what you think about with a small business. So that marketing, that product development. Our current fellows are providing support to our bakery staff, thinking through some products that we can do for the holiday boxes this year, which is one of the largest sources of income we have as an organization. And so thinking through like what products could look like, what could a theme for the box be, what would marketing and some like potential sample social media posts look like. And so really getting to have that experience and then also pitching that to our staff. So they can say like, this is our proposal for items that could be included in the holiday box this year. Our last cohort, if you pay attention to our social media or have been on the bakery website, so we had fellows develop a box for Mother's Day. And we had 4 women in this group who are all military spouses and have kids. And they were like, look, I'm a mom. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get a box of baked goods and my kids are going to eat all of it. Like that's just how it goes. And so their idea was, we're creating a mommies and munchkins box. So like half of the box is for mom and half of the box is for the kids, because we know that's going to happen anyway. So let's plan for it. And so like being able to showcase some of the products and the ideas that the fellows are coming up with really comes out of that case study. And it's really cool to see. The other is focused more on the behind the scenes aspects of running a small business. So looking more at operations, development. So for us, that means a lot of fundraising. And then also looking at finance, budgeting, all of those different kinds of things. So our fellows are currently working on an operations plan, and then we'll build out a budget and a fundraising strategy for an alumni summit as we're starting to think about being able to do some in-person programming in the future. And so we'll be able to pull ideas from this as staff as we actually start planning that kind of event. And so really getting that like real world experience as you're taking the classes. So like you're taking a class on accounting, well, let's also talk about the budget of a small business at the same time, and what that looks like. So we also, as I mentioned, have the learning labs, and throughout the 5 months, we bring in about 150 external partners to talk about a variety of different topics, from skill building, so thinking about your media presence and how do you present yourself when you have media opportunities, to entrepreneurial stories where people share their own experiences as entrepreneurs. And I think one of the best things that comes out of this series is that people share their real true experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly of what it's like to be a small business owner. And our partners are very real and very just open and honest with the fellows about, what, I have like a $700 plumbing bill that like comes up every so often. And that is not something I would have ever expected, thinking about having a brick and mortar store. We also work with some larger corporations on some corporate culture things and thinking about what, if you want to go back into the workforce, what are you looking for in an employer? And this is just a really wonderful opportunity to connect with other business owners, and to build your network. Our partners are very committed to dog tag and to the fellows. And so outside of the 90-minute learning lab that they do, they are willing to meet with fellows one-on-one, schedule a call, talk about your specific business that you're interested in or the specific career path that you're trying to develop, and really are invested in supporting the fellows as individuals and not just, well, I came and talked to the group and now I'm done, peace out, but really wanting to connect. So using LinkedIn and other resources, following up with emails with them is highly encouraged and really well received by our partners. We also have a big focus on wellness. And so developing a personal toolbox of self-care tools and resources. We know that different things work well for different people. So my goal for this is to share a variety of different types of wellness and self-care resources so that you can pick and say like, okay, out of these 10 different things, these 2 are the ones that work for me. And really being able to build those resources for yourself. So we do a lot of journaling and reflection. We also bring in some partners for some mindfulness and meditation. And we do some physical activity as well. Some yoga, some bar. We're trying to like add a boxing class, which I think would be a lot of fun and bring in like a little bit different of an activity for people. And then also we have the Finding Your Voice theater course. And with the fellowship program, the focus on business and entrepreneurship, the theater class kind of throws people off and they're like, what is this? And it's a little bit of a combination of theater and storytelling. And the goal is really to help you, like the class title says, find your voice, be comfortable speaking about yourself, your experience, sharing your stories, and tying them into your business, your entrepreneurial journey, and feeling confident in that story, the path that you have been on, and sharing that story with others. We found it to be just a really powerful aspect of the program for the fellows that participate. And then finally, the 5th program component is the Capstone Project. And this is kind of the culminating thing that fellows are working on throughout the entire program. It is an opportunity to develop a business plan for your own business and bringing in what you're learning through the Georgetown classes, through the bakery rotations, as you're making these connections with the entrepreneurs and the partners that we bring in, to really build out your business plan. So you'll have the opportunity to write that out in the form of the business plan. You'll do a market analysis, develop a 1st and 2nd year budget. And then at the end of the 5 months, you will pitch to dog tag staff. And then we also bring in a few external partners to act as feedback providers. One of the things I think is really important to recognize about the Capstone Project is that while it's the final project for dog tag, at the end of 5 months, it's not going to be complete. It will continue to evolve, to change, to grow as you continue to build out your business plan, as you continue to make connections. But really, it's a good jumping off point. And so bringing in the external partners to provide feedback, it's to ask questions. Well, have you thought about this? Here's a new direction that you could go. And so to help you continue thinking through and building out that business plan. After graduation, we continue to support our fellows through alumni engagement. And we have a really wonderful alumni network with a really engaged alumni. So we provide opportunities for alumni to engage with current fellows during orientation and closing week of the program. We host different social events and get-togethers. These have largely been virtual over the last year and a half. And then we also continue to provide professional development opportunities for our alumni, hosting things similar to learning labs throughout their time as alumni. And, once you get into the DogTag family, we don't really let you go. And so you have access to these alumni events to support from the staff throughout, the rest of your life. And then also networking and employment opportunities as well. We have a very high touch program. We only are able to serve 16 people per cohort. And so we value these connections and the support that we're able to give, and feel that our program is really strong in that one-on-one, that small group community aspect. And so continuing to foster that for our alumni has been really effective for us. So moving into eligibility requirements. So we serve post 9/11 veterans with service-connected disabilities, military spouses, and caregivers. We are looking for people who are ready to learn, ready to take that next step, even if you don't know what that next step is. A lot of people come into the program trying to figure out what comes next, but they're ready to go. And then looking to explore entrepreneurship and civilian careers. I think that exploration piece is important, because you're not committing to start a business when you sign up for DogTag. This is for people who are interested, looking to do that. But many of our fellows go on to do different things as alumni. And so it's that opportunity to explore the option and identify whether that's right for you. Also willing to contribute to the community and engage in that personal and professional development. We bring together people from all different walks of life, very diverse backgrounds, diverse interests, and are able to build a very supportive community with those individuals. And so people who are ready and willing to participate in the community aspect. You also need to be able to commit to the full-time schedule, but Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4. And then we also, in the COVID world, are trying to figure out what it looks like. We are hoping to have some in-person programming starting in January. We're not quite sure what that will look like, and if it there may be some adjustments to how we do that as opposed to how we've done it in the past. However, we are, holding the door open if we do need to be virtual. So we're not quite sure what that will look like, but just planning to move towards in-person programming in January. But the safety of staff, of the fellows, and then also the quality of the program are the top priorities of our organization. And so, looking at how we can do that, and be true to those things while still providing the best programming possible. So unsure of exactly what that will look like, but we will be very communicative as we continue to move forward and gain more information. In terms of documentation, so we do ask that you submit a DD-214 form. This would be for all applicants. Remove the sensitive information. We don't need your social security number, so you can block that out so that we don't see it. And if the service member is still active duty, you can submit a copy of current orders in place of the DD-214. Or some other documentation demonstrating active military service. We also ask for documentation of the VA disability rating. Spouses are exempt from this requirement, so this is just for the veterans and for the caregivers. And we also understand, if somebody is still transitioning out, or, the VA disability rating process takes a lot of time. So again, if you don't have that finalized, that's totally fine. We just need some kind of documentation showing that you're going through the process. And that is completely fine for our purposes. And then we also ask for a letter of recommendation. This can come from a former coworker, a former supervisor. If you were in the military, it could come from somebody that you served with or somebody that you served under. It can also come from a friend or a neighbor or somebody that you have volunteered with. We know that some people may have been out of the workforce for a while. And so even if it's from somebody from a few years ago, that's okay. We like to be as flexible as possible with who the letter of recommendation comes from. We just ask that it not come from an immediate family member or somebody who is providing a medical service to you. So a doctor, a therapist, something like that. So those are just the two things that we ask, or two people that we ask that it not come from. So for the application process, you submit the application online through our website, and we can put the link in the chat. Sarah or Justin, if you want to find that, that'd be great. The application deadline is September 15th. And one thing I want to call out is, so when you go to our website, you'll first get the eligibility form. That takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and it's just a few very basic demographic questions. Once you submit that, within 2 to 3 business days, we will respond and send you the actual application. And that's where you'll submit the reference letter, the DD-214 form. We ask some additional questions about military service. And there are a couple of essays that you'll write, just talking about your interest in the program. That part takes a little bit more time, especially if you need to gather that documentation. So we just highly, highly encourage that you fill out that eligibility form as quickly as possible to give you as much time for the actual application as you can. Following the close of applications on September 15th, we'll take some time to review applications and then get back to everybody within a couple of weeks to start scheduling first round interviews. A first round interviews takes place with one of our alumni. As I mentioned, they're very involved still with the program. And we have found that doing the interviews is a great way to engage with them and for them to get back to the program. Second round interviews would be with program staff. So myself, Sarah, who's on the call, Justin, who's on the call, and maybe 1 or 2 other staff. And then the third round would be with one of our board members as well as our CEO. And so it's an opportunity for us to get to know you. Our CEO, Megan, is fond of saying there's no right answer. We want your real answer. Show us who you are. Don't bullshit us. We just want to know who you are, what you're looking for, and how we can help you achieve your goals. So being just real in the interviews is probably the best advice I can give. All right, so I have thrown a ton of information at you so far. Would love to open it up for questions. Feel free to unmute or raise your hand, and happy to take any questions.
Will we be emailed a copy of this recording?
Yes, so everybody will get the recording after. So we'll send it to everybody that registered for sure.
I know you touched. Sorry. I know you touched on the fact that COVID may keep us from going to the brick and mortar store and learning there. How has that affected the last few cohorts? Not being able to be.
Yeah, I will say March 2020, when we went virtual, it was like, what are we doing, right? And definitely a steep learning curve, figuring out how things are going to work and to just translate everything that had been in person to the virtual space. it has been, I will say, highly successful. We wouldn't have kept going if it wasn't working. And that's one of the things where the quality of the program is one of the things we're just not going to compromise on. We have made some adjustments. So looking at, especially the bakery rotations and transitioning to that case study format, I think has worked really well in the virtual space. We also have had to be a little bit more intentional with the community building aspect. When we're in person at the bakery, everybody comes in, they get their coffee from downstairs, they sit down, they chat a little bit, and then we dive into like the regular programming. What we have done is implemented what I call a Monday morning wellness session, where the first 30 minutes of each Monday is just small breakout rooms. You're in a breakout room with 3 or 4 other people, and no prompt, no purpose, just chat, get to know each other. How was your weekend? And then transitioning into talking about some of those different wellness topics. So yesterday we talked about time management and some different tips and tricks for managing your time, and just really being intentional with that community building. We also have made some adjustments, especially with how much screen time everybody's getting. It's a lot of time on Zoom. And so with the case studies, fellows are able to connect with each other, figure out, okay, who's working on what, and then split off and get away from the computer a bit to like work on their own and then come back together as a group. With the Georgetown classes, we, instead of meeting once a week for 3 hours, since 3 hours in a class, 3 hours of counting is hard. 3 hours of accounting on Zoom is not great. And so adjusting that to be 2 90-minute classes a week. And really being very thoughtful and intentional about the adjustments that we're making. I will say that we have seen phenomenal results just with the community that the fellows have been able to build, with people showing up with their whole selves and being willing to engage. It's been really powerful and really cool to see as a program staff, and watching those relationships build and that community take shape. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. And then John, did you have another question?
He posted in the chat, Ashley, what is the capstone composed of?
Let's see. So what is capstone composed of? So it is, so there are a few different aspects. So part of it is developing that business plan. So looking at what is your mission statement, your business overview. I'm kind of going through like the outline in my head a little bit, thinking through your target market. Who are you trying to sell to? What does your target audience look like? And then also looking at a competitive analysis. So what makes you unique? What sets you apart in your ability to provide the service or the product that people are looking for, that you are selling? And then also looking at a marketing plan, how you're going to market yourself, your organization. What does your budget look like, and building out both financial projections for income, but also for how much money you would need to get started, and looking at a first year and a second year budget. I would say those are the main components of the capstone. But then also looking at how all of that comes together in the overall business plan, and being able to pitch that and being confident in your presentation skills. Does that answer the question?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, great.
Hi, Ashley. This is Janetta McKinney.
Yes.
I wanted to piggyback off John's question regarding the Capstone Project and the business plan. Specifically, for the business plan, each section, is there a one-on-one mentoring or coaching that's occurring for each individual?
Absolutely. So that is one thing I think we need to add. This is a new program that we have initiated, and we're calling it the Advisorship Program. So we have Lisa Novick, who has been a wonderful partner with Dog Tag for a long time, works one-on-one both with fellows and alumni. And so working with people on their capstone project, thinking through, okay, what's your vision? What do you really, it's what directed by you, what you want those conversations to look like. And that continues after graduation and once you become an alumni. And you have access, the ability to connect with Lisa as many times as you need to, talking about different aspects of your business or career plan, whatever it may be.
Okay, thank you for that. And then one final question is regarding the classes themselves. So if we've already taken advanced accounting classes or several business classes as a part of an MBA program, for example, is there any sort of credit given for courses we've already taken?
So, and the way our program is structured, the courses through Georgetown are pass-fail, so it's a non-credit program. And so we don't really accept credits from previous programs, but we also can't give credits to future programs. So just want to let you know that. We have had fellows who have taken business classes, and for them, they have found that the Georgetown classes provide a good refresher on the classes if it may have been a little while, but also there's no cost to participate in the program. So it's not like you're paying for classes that you've already taken either.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, I saw that there are several other questions in the chat. So I want to just take a second to look at those. So John, I see your question about, is it beneficial for someone regardless of the type of business they may be seeking? So we have fellows who are going into all different aspects of business. I know because we're a bakery, there's sometimes a concern, we're like, I don't want to open a bakery, so like, does this work for me? And absolutely, I would say yes. So we have fellows that have done all different kinds of things. One of our alumni has a virtual assistant company where she hires other people to be virtual assistants for other companies. We have a couple of fellows who started a nonprofit focused on mental health and wellness for first responders. We also have fellows that are focused more on selling specific products. So one of our fellows is partnering with some of the different national parks with like a hardtack, and doing some like history stuff and like talking about like things like that. So it's all, and then we also have people who have started food trucks and bakeries and food related businesses. But really there's just such a wide variety of things that our alumni have gone on to do. I really do think that it can be applied to all different industries and types of businesses. And I would just say, like, especially thinking about the bakery rotations and like thinking about like a product, it's about being able to apply that to the industry that you were working on. So one of the examples, like a while ago, I was like, I think we should do like frozen hot chocolate at the bakery in the summer because that's what I wanted to be drinking and I wanted the bakery to have it. And they were like, Ashley, that's a great idea, but we would need a blender and we would need this and we would need this and we would need this. And it's not just as simple as adding something to a menu. It's thinking about what are the other inputs that go into adding a new product or service to your business. And so that's for the bakery, but looking at, what is your product, your service that you're providing? Are you adding in a new one? And what are the different inputs that would go into that? Is it cost effective? And what do you want to think through for that?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I think I got tired of typing. So here's my concern. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a short-sighted. Usually when I think of entrepreneurship, I usually think of someone who requires large capital, in-depth education as far as accounting, business schools, marketing, things of that nature, which obviously I don't. My degree is in criminal justice and security management. So it has nothing to do with the business field, but I do desire to be an entrepreneur because I want to work for myself and not have to be, let me put it, under the clock. and
Yeah.
being under the scrutiny of someone else's thumb. Now, does this program help somebody who's trying to get into any kind of business? I mean, I have no desire to get into the food business whatsoever.
Right. Yep.
Aside from real estate, another business that I've given great thought about is going to sound off the wall, is like a massage spa, or like a,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Mhm.
How does that fit into this, and can this be possible? And am I being short-sighted in thinking that to be an entrepreneur you need large capital and you need to be related to the right people?
Right. So I have a few different thoughts. So bear with me on this journey of an answer. So I think definitely, like I said, like we have fellows and alumni who have gone on into all different industries. And so definitely I would say, like, don't feel like you're pigeonholed into a food related business. And I think the people often think, oh, well, like I need an MBA. I honestly don't think to be an entrepreneur, you need that. I think that's more like going into like corporate business. And I think the Certificate of Business Administration provides a good overview of some of those basic skills that will be helpful as an entrepreneur, and to provide, okay, here's some basic information you need to know about accounting. Let's talk about management best practices. And the goal is to really apply what you're learning to the specific industry that's of interest of you. And that comes in through both the Georgetown classes and also through the learning labs. We're bringing in those external partners. So we bring in a few partners that specifically talk about raising capital and how they were able to do that. And like I said, like our learning lab partners love connecting with fellows one-on-one outside of the regular session. And so talking to them about how they raised capital is definitely, they'll have ideas and things that you may not have thought of to help you kind of get outside the box. One of our learning lab partners, ran a trash business. And he talks, and our fellows are like, what is this like guy talking about his trash business going to bring to me? And then they walk away like, that's like the best thing I've ever heard, because he goes through like, okay, this is what I did as like a 20 something with no money, and I wanted to start a business, and this is how I did it. This is how I raised the capital. This is how I started with my HR practices that were crap, and then I kind of had to like figure it out. And so our goal is really to help expose you to people who've been there and done that, so that they can share like, okay, these are the pitfalls I ran into. I want you to avoid them. You're still going to run into your own challenges for sure, but if you can avoid some of the challenges they've already identified, then you're just in a much better place. Same with the Georgetown classes. If accounting is not your jam, like you still want to be able to know the basics so that when you're talking to an accountant, you can follow along in the conversation and not be taken advantage of. And so like really just setting you up with that basic skill level so that you can have some of those skills and feel confident as you're getting started. Does that answer the question?
It does, and more, but another question surfaced, if you don't mind, is, does this program also discuss as far as how to apply for like the small business loans? I attended a webinar last week with Recruit Military, and there was a program there called Entrepreneurship Resources, and they kind of dived in deep about like the small business loans, how to apply them, the different kind of loans there are out there, and so forth. So do you guys kind of touch base on that as well?
Yeah, so we do partner with the Small Business Administration. And so as one of our learning labs, we have one of their people come, his name is Stan, and he talks about veteran specific small business loans, and as well as different resources and programs. And so he gives kind of that basic overview in that learning lab. But again, it's now you have a name and an email address and a person that you can connect with if you have questions about specific loans or specific programs that are out there. And he's just a really great resource. And so being able to make those introductions and build those connections with the partnerships that we bring to the table.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Or other questions that people have?
Ashley, I saw Renisha put in the chat, if COVID or a variant is still a factor come January, would you do a hybrid format?
Yeah, so and that's, you know, we don't know what's coming. We don't have enough data right now to make a decision like we're going to be fully in person or we're going to be fully virtual or we're going to be somewhere in the middle. I will say what we have found is that, you know, we all know transitions are difficult. And so I think if we start the, you know, just depending on what's happening in January, if we start virtual, the program will be fully virtual. We won't be like, and now we're going to come fully in person after spring break. It could be that we are in person 1 week a month, or it could be that we are in person like 2 days a week. We just don't know what it's going to look like. And so my suggestion, especially if you live outside of the DC area, still apply. Because if we are going to be virtual, we don't want you to miss out on the opportunity. And if we're going to be in person, well, then we'll give you that like at least a month's notice. And, you know, if you're able to come, that's great. If not, then there may be some other opportunities in the future, but just encouraging everyone to apply. With the hopes that it works out best for you, whatever that format is. We also will be on the application adding a question, which actually we need to add today. So maybe wait till tomorrow to fill out the application. But looking, kind of getting feedback from the applicants. Are you looking for virtual? Are you looking for in person? Are you looking for a hybrid? So that we can take that into account as we're planning for January.
I thought I had one last question, but another one resurfaced. Now in this program, I know with starting a business, there's so many underhanded people trying to take advantage of honest people that are working and having a business of their own. Do you guys talk about the legal aspect as far as what can we do to protect ourselves from, you know, from employees and just the corruption that's out there? What can we do to prevent ourselves or protect ourselves from liability? Things of that nature you guys dealing with? Do you guys dive into the legal aspect?
So we do a little bit. We partner with the DC Bar Pro Bono Center, and they do some small business clinics. They talk a lot, you know, with us, they talk a lot about the different business structure. So like an LLC versus an Inc. Versus a nonprofit, and what goes into, you know, filing as a business. But they also, again, are an excellent partner, and so have the ability to work with people, you know, one-on-one. They do clinics once a month as well, where they just will pair people who are starting a business with attorneys working for free. And volunteering their services. We also, so one of our board members is an intellectual property attorney. And so she talks a lot about intellectual property rights and how to make sure that you are, you know, taking care of and protecting your intellectual property as well. And so I think like if there are questions you have that are not answered specifically during a learning lab, we have the connections and the relationships to introduce you to someone who can answer those questions and work with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then Leanne, I just saw your question in the chat. What are you looking for in the essays and in the letter of recommendation? So I will say this is very similar to what I was saying about the interview. Be yourself. Tell us what you want to get. Why are you doing this? Why are you interested in the program? What is motivating you? What are your goals? Help us see you. And I will say the essays are really the opportunity to showcase who you are and what you're looking for and what you're doing. Show us, like, talk about yourself. You know, don't just like write like 2 sentences and submit it, but like really take the time. And I will also say, like, we're not worried about perfect grammar and spelling and structure and all of that kind of stuff, right? Like, the purpose of this program is to help people grow. So we're not going to be like, oh, that person had a spelling error, discard that application. You know, like, don't stress about those things. Really focus on just showing who you are. And for the letter of recommendation, we want to know, like what strengths do you bring to the program? But we also want to know, how is this program going to help you grow? Why are you interested? Your level of commitment and your ability to stick with a 5-month program that runs Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. Can the person who's providing your reference say like, yes, this person is going to commit? And I will also say, like, a so-so letter of recommendation isn't going to make me like discount somebody from the program, but an amazing letter of recommendation is going to make me say like, okay, we want this person. And so having like a good letter of recommendation can be really powerful.
I'm glad you mentioned about the writing, because when you start talking about the writing, I'm thinking, okay, you guys want like some kind of dissertation about like myself. And I'm sure a lot of us are in the same boat. I have a hard time, not only about writing, but when it comes about writing myself, it's terrible. I just do not see myself through the same eyes, through those same lenses. And that's going to be my own personal crucible right there. It always has been. It'll be like that to the day I go into the grave. So I'm glad that you're not anal about the structure. He didn't indent it. He didn't use APA style and blah blah blah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I also will say, like, we limit the essays to like 500 words, so it's like a paragraph. Like, it's not like a long thing. More than 2 sentences, shorter than a page, right? Like, but showcase who you are and what you bring to the program. Let's see, I think we covered all of the questions in the chat. Any other questions that anybody has?
These are meetings. I know you guys have round 2 and 3. When will these rounds take place? I'm sure they would discuss. I may have just channeled out.
So I don't want to commit to specific dates just because things fluctuate. But we do want to let everybody know acceptance into the program by the first week of December. That way everybody has about 6 weeks prior to the program starting to arrange schedule, set time. That's also when we will let you know more details about like in-person versus virtual and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay, so we should be getting some kind of emails from you guys letting you know, hey, this is the next step if you're still interested. Yes. Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Absolutely. I will also say, and this just reminded me of this, check your spam filters. We have some issues with our submittable emails going to spam. And so if you have submitted the eligibility form and you haven't gotten the application back within like 2 or 3 days, start checking spam filters. You can also email us. Sarah, do you want to put the fellowship email in the chat? And we also will send like reminder emails once a week or so. So keep an eye on those. Because you've registered for the webinar, we'll add you to our email distribution list so that you can start getting those reminders about additional recruitment events. So we'll have like an alumni Q&A in a couple of weeks where we'll have several of our alumni join so you can ask them questions about their experience with the program. But just keeping you up to date about those things and then also updating you on the status of your application through that as well.
Just had a quick question, Ashley, along the lines of the application process. It sounds like there are 3 interviews, a panel, and a board/CEO interview. Are they structured differently, or are they based on experiential? Are there any type of security questions? Like, if you could give more detail about the interviews themselves, that would be great.
Sure. So the first interview is a phone call with one of our alumni, and that's really just like a basic screening. Are you interested in the program? And learning a little bit more about you. What is your interest? What is your experience? Different things like that. How did you hear about dog tag? Why do you want to participate in the program? Just kind of gauging your level of interest. And then the second round would be a Zoom, so with 2 individuals from the fellowship program team. And so that is more getting a little bit more into your goals. So what are you hoping to accomplish by participating in the fellowship program? You know, we do ask a little bit of experiential stuff. So talk to us about like your leadership style, but it's not, I would say, not so much experiential, but more descriptive about yourself. Tell us about how you engage with the group. Tell us about your leadership style. You know, really trying to get to know you. And that's where I will say it really for us is important. Like, we want to know who you are. So just be real with us. And I know in an interview, it can feel like really like, oh, I have to like be like professional and like well dressed and well spoken and just like deep breaths, relax. Like sometimes when people are really nervous, we're like, okay, we're just going to stop the interview for a second. We're all going to take a couple deep breaths and then we're going to keep going. Because again, like the purpose of our organization is to support people. Not to be like, well, we expect you to be perfect in interviews, you know, because halfway through the program, we're going to do mock interview day where you have the opportunity to practice interviewing with various companies. Or if not interviewing, practicing your business pitch. And so we're not looking for the poised, perfect interview. We're just looking for people to be real. And then with the board members, that's really the final screening, where again, we may have some follow-up questions based on the initial interviews where we're like, hey, like we want to learn more about this with this person, dive a little bit deeper into that. With the board members, they don't really have a script. They treat it more as a conversation where they want to get to know you a little bit better. Yeah, and Caitlin, I just saw your question in the chat about dress. So we do ask business casual. With Zoom, you know, it's one of our fellows called it the mullet of outfits, where you're business casual on the top and then you're like sweatpants or whatever on the bottom. But then in the bakery, we do ask for business casual.
I can see that happening, the flounder effect. You look professional up on the up half and the bottom, you're just, yeah.
All right. What other questions? Okay, well, we have just a couple minutes left. I just want to put this last slide up. It does have our email address, which Sarah also put in the chat. So definitely, if you have questions, I know I'm the kind of person where like, you know, 2 hours later, the next day, I'm like, oh, wait, I should have asked this. Feel free to send us an email. We do check the fellowship account every day. And that is one of the accounts that we prioritize responding to. So just know it's not going to a random inbox that nobody's checking, but we check every day. Right, well, one last call for questions. All right, well, in that case, I will go ahead and stop the recording.